All right, welcome to the latest edition of the FPL America podcast. This is David Smith.
Travis Hoig.
Brian Shesko.
Gentlemen, welcome. As we dive into this week, I can promise you this. My weekend started in a not-so-great way. Friday and Saturday, as I said this before, I coach a middle school girls basketball team. This is not a basketball podcast. But basketball is another favorite sport of mine. And we had a tournament this past weekend, and it was about 2 hours away. Some people drove up and stayed the night before. Not me. I thought, it's a 2-hour drive, not that big of a deal. It's in Harrisonburg, about 2 hours away from where we live. Anyway, so 5:15, I go out to start my truck. I do not have an old truck, 2019 truck, 70,000 miles on it. Truck doesn't start. 5:15 a.m. Now, I had agreed to give, so it's me and my two girls, and then agreed to give the wife of the varsity coach, agreed to give her a ride with us because he was already up there. He had business in a neighboring town, so he was already up there. So I was going to give her a ride. So I texted her frantically. For about 10 minutes, I tried to figure out why my truck wouldn't start. I knew it wasn't a battery. Travis, new battery in it 2 months earlier, okay? So I'm trying everything here. I have one of those fancy little battery starters you just hook up, Nothing's going on. It's just not happening. It clicks once. It's a push button. Clicks. All the accessories are on. Everything electrically runs.
You left it in gear, didn't you?
It's not starting. Right. So I call the person who I'm supposed to be giving a ride to. Hey, my truck won't start, and I don't have options. And she's like, all right, well, I'll just drive to you, drive my minivan. We'll just take my minivan up. Okay, great. I mean, we had all our options. At this point, I'm like, are we going to make the game? We have an 8 o'clock game.
All right. And 2 players.
And I have 2 players.
Yeah. And
1 starter. So it is now, assuming my assistant coaches didn't have car problems, so they would have been there. But, anyway, so we end up making it there. We end up playing a very good team. I'll be surprised if that team actually didn't win the tournament. I didn't hang around late enough to find out who did win the tournament. I probably could a few keystrokes in the old Google machine.
If only there was a way.
If only there was a way. Anyways, they housed us 40-5. Now, they stopped pressing after the first quarter.
Oh, that's good.
Okay, they would have beat us 100 out of 100 times. So there was not a universe in which we live where I would have had the horses to compete with this team. They were very good. They were very good. Most of these girls probably play travel ball somewhere.
Or just had better coaching.
Very, very possibly. Assuredly had better coaching. So, anyways, so that's how my day started on Friday. And then we had to wait all day till 7 p.m. that night to play our next game, which was at a different location, not too far away. And I knew this all day, except for about 30 minutes before the game where I showed up at the other place for where our game is. And as I'm walking in, realizing we're at the wrong location.
Oh, no.
And then my girls who had already dropped off for them to run in, I call my one daughter. I'm like, hey, y'all need to come back out right now. And they're like, we can't find anybody. I'm like, yeah, because we're at the wrong place. So I am ripping in this minivan as fast as I can push this thing to make it to this other place. We finally make it there. We end up losing that game, but it was close. Anyway, so then the next morning we had our last game at 8:30 a.m. And after that game, we hung around for a few other games because we had other teams and friends playing on other teams. And so we hung around for a few hours, and then we left. But my weekend was extremely exhausting, not to mention Friday in between games trying to find get a hold of my insurance company to get my tow truck, get a tow truck to my house, get my truck towed. But I had to figure out if my mechanic was going to be available to get it. Otherwise, I just had to have it towed. I was going to have to call tons of mechanics to try to figure out who can actually get it in that day.
Did you ever figure out what it was?
Starter.
Oh, jeez.
And what my mechanic told me, I'm like, dude, I said, Joe, this starter, like 70,000 miles, like feels a little early for a starter. He goes, it is. I said, what's wrong? He goes, you told me you replaced that battery like 2 months ago. I'm like, yeah. He said, was it low or was it dead? I'm like, yeah, it was dead. Like we couldn't even jump it once it went dead.
So you reefed on it too hard.
Yep.
Wore out the
starter. I wore out the starter because this is what's the public service?
PSA.
PSA for everyone. A weak battery will wear out your starter
if you keep cranking on it. Yeah.
So
that's important information. I don't know how many people have that information.
All you
readily
12-year-old boys and girls that are thinking about getting a car.
I'm in my 40s.
In the next 5 years.
Yeah. And I will from now on, the rest of my life, pay attention to battery strength, because not only do I not want to be buying another battery, I will end up eventually have to buy another battery. I don't want to have to add another starter onto it. So,
yeah.
Woo! All that being said, you know who didn't need any starting this weekend? Arsenal Football Club. They are purring, baby. Let's talk some fantasy. Let's get in, Brian, to what we are here to talk about.
We'll talk about what's happened. We're still in the middle of game week 25.
Double match week.
Game week 25. And there's still 2 matches yet to play. The 2 remaining important ones, the ones that anyone cares about. And then we probably should look ahead to next week, because there's a blank for important teams next week.
Yep.
And I want to ask some strategy questions about between kind of now and game week 29.
Okay.
Especially just because game week 29, we mentioned it last week, when kind of fixture planning, chip planning, all of those things. I have a big question about kind of how to go about your business there.
Awesome. I love it. Travis, you got anything else? Because otherwise we're going to rip into this.
Let's go.
All right. Let's fly into this. We're going to start with 2 clubs, and we can mention their results because I think they're at some point relevant. We don't have to deep dive into the results, but let's dive into Manchester City 1, Chelsea 1, Liverpool 4, Brentford 1. The 2 darling doubles this match week, Liverpool and Manchester City. And the changes that I made, Brian, you said before the pod, hey, how'd your team do, right? Let's do a team
how's
team
double
check.
Game week going so far?
Double game week for me. I decided to triple captain Holland.
Yeah.
So at this point,
a lot of people did.
At this point, I'm not hitting yet, but the week's not over. The match week's not over. And I'm doing okay. At the moment, I have 55 points.
That's a good score.
Is it, though?
Sure.
I'm looking at the average points right now, and it says 50.
That's also a good score.
Brian, what do you
hold on.
I don't know. I am not looking. Right. I wanted to start the podcast. I mean, I love hearing about your sadness and misfortune. I was gonna. If it was me starting, I would have started by saying that I'm conceding.
49.
I'm conceding this season. The season is
Brian,
over.
No.
Yeah, I at this point, it's me saying that I'm conceding it. It's like if Mitt Romney said he's not running for president. You know what I mean? Like so what?
Okay.
All of our non-American listeners are going to know exactly
Brian,
what you're talking about.
Who cares?
You have shown, if anyone that I've ever known that plays fantasy, you are a last quarter guy.
You got a good kick.
You do have a good kick.
It would be like in England if Rowan Atkinson said no thanks. I'm not going to be king of England this time. I don't know what.
Wow.
What other country do you want me to? It's like he's not in line for it. He's not an option. I'm just saying, all
right.
All of that to say, I think this week, is a perfect encapsulation of why everything was wrong for me this year.
Okay.
I just think the template has been mostly good this season. So the template has stayed strong. And so the people who have acted quickly on template things
that have done okay
are ahead. And so I feel like I've been chasing the template most of the season. And then I'm behind now, but not in a fun way. There have been previous seasons.
Is there a fun way to be behind?
Well, there are previous seasons where if I fall behind, where I'm like, no, I can kind of see a way back.
Okay.
And this season, it just feels like there isn't. And I would just say the Liverpool game is what, the triple captain. I mean, that was I just think the on paperness of it made the most sense.
It still might.
Right. It can still work out. And the thing is, though, like other people have pointed out, effective ownership for Holland is high. The number of top teams that have played the triple captain is high. And the number overall of people who play was millions. It was 500,000 or half of 10 million. So what's half of 10? 5? It's like 5 million people play this triple captain on him. So like going into the game week though, it was like you have to. And it was another like I think content creators like semi-bullying you into triple captain.
So you did it.
Of course I did it.
And you did it.
I did.
I did not.
And that's the thing that the bold move and the chasing move was to not triple captain and find another time.
Okay.
But this was on the assumption of like, again, I think it was weighing who has, like we'll talk about it forever, who has Holland's ceiling, which is no one.
By the way, 2 headers dead on should have been in the back of the net.
For sure. And he's the number one. His
XG was, I think, 1.8 for the game.
And he's took 9 shots already this week. So you think on 9 shots, he's going to put away one of them, and he didn't. Whatever. And we talked about it before. There's a lot to talk about. Is like I think overall with Manchester City in the game for them. But like, yeah, I just think overall for the season, the only thing that's going to save me is late riser. He said earlier, time for loosey-goosey experimental FPL for the rest of the season. And that's the one way of playing that even if it's going to be a big L at the end, at least it could be fun.
Still fun, yeah.
Right. So that's the only thing that's left for this season is just to, kind of go off template.
Not for me yet.
Right.
I'm having like my
as you run away with things in the mini league at least. No, that's
hey, I'm hanging around. I'm hanging around. A shock to me here. Now look, I had 2 transfers this week. I made 2 boring defensive transfers this week. Pedro Porro out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ake in.
Okay.
Joe Gomez out. Virgil in.
Okay.
Neither of those worked out at all.
I haven't gotten anything from, but I didn't have to take a hit.
Right.
And here's the other thing. I wasn't getting Porro the following week. So I did gain someone with Ake. Right?
No,
I did gain someone with Ake. So then I looked at it and I'm like, okay, do I take any more hit? Do I take some hits here? And or after the match week started Saturday morning, I was looking at, because all of a sudden now Salah is going to be playing. So after the 7:30 match, Liverpool had their early match again. And so they play, and I'm looking at it, and Salah comes in, of course, has we'll get to that in a minute. Great game. And so then I'm like, okay. So I got Jota, and the plan was, now I got to get easy. Salah in, Jota out, Salah in. Easy, right?
Hopefully you already did that.
How do I get there? The only way I can get there within 2 transfers, and I figured a way out. And when I bring this guy up, we've never talked about this guy, and he's gotten three results in a row.
Uh-huh.
He's a Fulham striker.
Yeah.
Moonies.
We talked about him last week.
Moonies.
I think it was near the end of the podcast
when I was falling asleep.
Yeah, I think
he was.
I was nodding off.
On a rant. You were eyes closed.
Hey, Moonies is like a 4-4.
Yeah, he's crazy cheap.
All of a sudden, 2 transfers. I got the other flip side is I got to sell Watkins. So Watkins, Salah, weigh him out. Salah probably the weight on Salah is going to be more. And then it would be, well, I'm losing Jota anyways. So then I'm getting Moonies, who is producing. Yeah. I'm not saying he's producing at Watkins clip, but he's been producing. So I have a playable striker.
So did you do it?
No, I have not done it yet, and I can't be more glad, because in the back of my mind, Brian's like, if there's midweek games, what do you
gotta
do?
Wait.
You got to wait. Knowledge, Brian, is more important.
Well, at least this time the information happened fast.
It's true, but I still haven't pulled the trigger yet, because at this point, I'm not sure where I want to go. And now I don't have to go to Moonies. In fact, I just got to get rid of Jota, and so 1 transfer, and I can be back in it.
So let's talk about Liverpool's disaster week. So it's, a great win. So disaster FPL-wise, disaster injury-wise, great win against a really strong team, like big, really impressive victory this week. Salah is the only person, and kind of Gakpo end up being the only ones that matter. I guess McAllister kind of mattered, I suppose.
Nunez scored. So.
But Salah in FPL terms is the only person who really matters. But now based on all the reports that are out there, Darwin, Jota, and Salah are all out for at least for Luton, and for Jota and Darwin, it's out longer. Jota likely out 2 months. This is per one of the accounts.
Is it really that long?
I
had not heard that yet.
Cop Connection on X. Jota out likely for 2 months.
There was a fear that he'd be out all season, but it does sound like he will be back before the season's over.
They said avoided worst case scenarios and no cruciate ligament injury or nothing ruptured at least. So, but either way, months is the current timeline.
It's a little early to tell, but
Jota and then Darwin, as of right this second, they're saying a couple weeks. So
it's unclear what's going on with Darwin right now. So.
Because Unpoko is why, because he felt a little something. That's the reason why it's a mystery.
Unpoko.
They're still assessing. It could be a Jared Bowen situation where everybody's freaking out about nothing.
Yeah.
So we don't know.
Either way, none of these guys are playing against Luton, at least as it sounds.
Salah, I am not convinced is actually injured.
Okay.
There is one report coming out of Egypt. It's a former Egypt national team goalkeeper who made a stray statement about him re-injuring his hamstring. That is the only report that there is, though.
Okay.
It is a lot of regurgitation of that
and
same
that's regurgitated
guy.
But that's regurgitated by the Liverpool Echo. So
right.
that was the only reason why for me when I saw it.
It has not been substantiated by anyone. As of right now, it has just been reporting what that guy said. Is it true? It could very well be. But as of right now, none of the reliable people that know stuff have said anything. So will he be out for Luton?
Well,
maybe.
But they don't play then in match week 26 anyways.
Right.
So I was going to be pumping the brakes unless price rises were going to be so crazy, Brian, and that it was going to affect
right.
Whether or not, because remember, I was on fine margins here. If I was going to bring him in on just 2 transfers,
doesn't make sense to do it this week.
No,
right.
So
no matter what.
But again, the stat of the week so far, Salah by a good margin, the number 1 transfer in for going into game week 26.
Yeah,
good job, go get him, boys.
Yeah.
No, I just think tomorrow we'll get some sort of clarification, at least final.
You'll know before 27, right?
Final clarification ahead of Luton. I mean, Klopp will probably say something about it as we sit here Monday night, February 19th, 2024.
There you go.
Tomorrow,
City and Brentford Tuesday.
Right, and then Klopp's press conference on Tuesday. Ahead of Luton should offer the final clarification, or at minimum he'll give some sort of a indication of how long it's going to be.
Yeah.
So I guess the strategy questions of it, Travis, are one, Gakpo.
Remember, he's listed as a striker, as a forward.
Right.
I did not know that until a few minutes ago.
He's going to have to play forward.
Played a half. He's the only fit red. Would you dare?
Well, no, not now, because he's not going to be in play for Luton unless you already started.
For 27.
No.
But for 26, he's out. So, I mean, we're talking,
Right, I'm just saying, like, if Darwin really is out for weeks.
Okay.
And you're losing Jota for sure. Like, he's not coming back.
I mean, if the template front line at the moment is Holland, Solanke, Watkins, right? Is that fair? So...
I would say the second part of that question is, since Darwin is question mark, what does weeks actually mean? Like, Darwin's an obvious sell right this minute. Most people who he is selected by, I can tell you quickly how he's selected by, because he's selected by me. He rounded out my -8 going into this game week, which is fantastic. 20.7%. So he's at 20%. That's decent.
Okay.
So there's 20% of teams have Darwin Nunez right this second.
Okay.
That's a lot. You would say Darwin out, and then the question is, do you dare make it Gakpo? You're not doing it right now.
If I was a Darwin
27
owner,
maybe, but
the obvious sell is, it's so, like you said, it's Holland, Watkins, Solanke, I think is the template overall pick, but it's Watkins, Solanke, or Hoyland.
Yeah.
I mean, you
Agreed.
have to have him in there.
Wow.
And then the
Hoyland-
fourth, and then I would
Hoyland.
say the fourth choice, do you go wildly off script, make up some
Ivan
money,
Toney.
and make it? Well, Ivan Toney's another choice,
Or Mooney's.
or Muniz,
Or
Mooney's.
Carl or Morris.
Right.
For Luton.
You have options,
Which-
is what I'm saying. What week would you have to see
Morris is
to say Gakpo? I'll take a shot. It's not happening, is it?
Probably. I don't think he's relevant until he actually scores with the injuries that Liverpool has.
Okay.
Their creative muscle is lacking because of the lack of depth at this point.
Right.
So most of the guys that they have are going to be playing out of position or out of their favored position, and it is a low block is going to be a problem,
Okay.
and they're going to get it.
Okay. No, I just like there are so many players who did something good this week that are like it's worth maybe mentioning, but they're such a non-option, non-factor.
and then there's some
There's
that
some right there's-
haven't gotten enough run that we need to discuss.
for sure. But Gakpo is just hilarious. I mean, nothing is more perfect coming out of here than Gakpo and Salah, who, whatever. If you had the money, if you said, "Hey, Salah's coming back, he's in my team," and you go for him or whatever, and he has a great week. He has exactly the kind of
I
week
can promise you
hope
this: if Salah ends up, even if he doesn't play Luton, but then plays in the Carabao Cup final, and he's healthy enough to play that, I will absolutely bring him in the following week at the expense of Watkins.
for. Okay.
Mainly because I don't know. He's too important for the club, and he's still Mohamed Salah, and he'll still probably end up being the number one midfield scorer, and he might be the number one scorer in fantasy.
He could.
Because Holland has missed too many games.
We said last week, like if you found out that he was in, like it really was like the selection percentages was so low once the news came out that he was training again. I mean, it was the lowest. Was he? What did we say last week? I think he was 14% or something like that. It was ridiculous. It was
Holland's ownership?
no Salah.
Salah.
Oh, yeah,
He's
yeah,
only
yeah.
up to 21% now.
Right, because it's so hard, and that's why I said last week it was like even if I wanted to really get him, it would have required I would have had to take a -12 to make it happen.
Yeah.
Instead, I was like, I have no Liverpool coverage. I got to get somebody, and I didn't want to throw away
Yeah.
a midfielder when I had Joao Pedro rotting on my forward bench, and so that's why Darwin came in.
Yeah.
And
Do you wish you would have gone to Hoyland?
no, I wish Darwin wouldn't have gotten hurt.
Mm.
Because I think Darwin might have had 6 goals in that game.
You couldn't tell the future and just know that Hoyland was going to do that?
We talked about Hoyland.
No, for sure we did, but I just think it was more like
No,
I forget
I'm
who
joking. I mean,
I forget who it was. Somebody pointed out like Darwin gets a breakaway and every other option that he had in front of him was easier than what he attempted.
Yeah.
And he made it like cuz
Yeah.
somebody
Yeah.
made a cartoon of it. Like basically he makes everything more
Yeah.
difficult than it needs to be and it works when he makes it difficult. So I just think like yeah, it sucks. Like that was the first thing that anyone pointed out in that game was this game is tailor-made for Darwin based on the way they had set up.
Yeah.
It was like a game where it was like this could have been the game where there were people who talk about a rogue captain or triple captain, people FPL boys, BOIS boys, those guys that they have their decent account out there. I think they triple captain Darwin as like the podcast
Wow.
choice.
Mm.
Because they specifically said don't triple captain who we triple captain. Don't do it. Just do the right thing, captain the right guy, and they went Darwin. And I'm sure for a second there it looked like this was the
still
smartest
it's
move
better
of the
than
week.
Holland
There's still a
currently.
Right this
chance.
second, yeah, for
There's still
sure.
a chance.
All right.
So anyway,
All right.
that's the end of Liverpool. Everything else was weird. You still concede a goal anyway.
Yeah, that really sucked because you know what I did? I did what I texted you and told you should have done.
Oh, you brought in Kelleher.
I brought in Kelleher.
Because the other big issue ahead of the game was that Allison's has
Dude,
a
you guys got
hamstring
some
or whatever.
injuries. If you can
Yeah.
look, credit to
That'd be
if
interesting.
Liverpool can end up hanging on to results and continue to stay in first place with all these injuries, honestly,
Who knows, man?
the club gets so much cred.
Who
You
knows?
showing off our koozies that were
Now you guys can show off yours.
printed for us.
Allison injured, so some people did go to Kelleher ahead of the match. I sure thought about it.
I
with
did.
Dubravka and Areola. It might have been a better move. It still could be,
Right.
but I don't know. Now,
Areola scored 3. That's who my other keeper was.
Right.
Kelleher scored 3, and he's got another match to play, hopefully.
right.
So we'll see.
The best he could do is go for 6,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which then I guess that basically evens it out. Is this a go to him now?
No.
To me, I don't know why you. I mean,
All right,
that was the other
what's-
part
I
of
think
it was
Alice-
making goalkeeper transfers.
Well, here's the issue though. So they blank next week,
right.
and Allison probably won't play Luton. Kelleher will play the final. He was going to play the final anyways,
The cup final.
Carabao Cup final anyways. So you've got a good solid 2 weeks for Allison to come back. His injury is not significant. It
Right.
was
What was the injury? Is it
he
even
pulled
worth
up
mentioning?
he's a muscular pulled up in training.
Thigh or hamstring, something,
Yeah.
upper
So
leg.
It's
Just
unlikely
put
that
some
he'll be out for very long.
cream on it. You're fine.
Yeah, hasn't he ever seen the Shaq commercial with the icy hot patch or something?
What is it?
Just put an icy hot patch on that.
Oh my gosh.
Brentford, in a segment we like to call Brentford LOL, Tony gets his no matter what.
Seems
He
like
just
it.
does. 8 shots for Ivan Toney this week, which is second so far, only to Holland.
He's looking sharp, I will say that.
No one else from Brentford attempted more than 1 shot, so the Tony versus Neil Mopay argument, I think, was for the double game week, was put to
Mopay,
rest
that guy.
in week 1. 4 shots on target for Ivan Toney, which is the number 1 player in the league for the game week, by the way.
That's a little surprising.
The only Brentford players who had a shot on target otherwise were Neil Mopay and Sergio Reguilon. But because Ivan Toney is a lazy forward and because Liverpool scored 4 goals, Toney gets a straight up 6 for the game week. So, but either way, it's a return, and it's better than not
It
getting a
is
return.
4 returns in his 5 games that he's been back.
Right.
He blanked against City. That's it. So,
And one of the
and
reasons
he's playing City again.
Yeah, and one of the reasons why Ivan Toney is I would say it should be a stronger consideration in addition to just like a lot of returns, and he's Ivan Toney, and this is his farewell Brentford season. We know right now that Brentford is one of the teams that has a match in both game week 26 and game week 29. So
Yeah.
if you want to plan ahead for game week for right now, very blank game week 29, Ivan Toney is along with Ollie Watkins, one of the 2 people you should bring in. It's not a question of whether those should be the first 2 names that you bring in if you don't have them. For me, I don't have either of them, and so I'm not sure which way I would go on that one.
Okay. All right. So would you rather own? We've already established. I think the main.
The other part was that Reguilon got an assist, which is why the extra laughs come out because I think a lot of people were like, hey, "Why would you bring him in? Look at these matchups; they're horrible. What's he gonna do? Get a return?" And he gets an assist, so at least he gets. He gets a 3.
I came really close to wild carding, and he was in my wild card team.
Officially, just for the record, Reguilon credited with 0 chances created
Even though
in
he
the
had an
match.
assist.
But an FPL assist is an FPL assist. So 3
Wow.
3 points for Reguilon. If you brought him in, I don't know.
All right.
Good, I guess. I don't know what to tell you.
So in the template of Holland, Solanke, Watkins, let's just say that's the assumed template.
Yep.
Would you rather have Tony over Solanke? Now I'll say this: the price points are not close. Tony's price point is 8.2.
Yeah.
Solanke's is 6.7. I mean,
No.
but Watkins.
Yeah, I think that's the bigger question.
But
Solanke.
I mean, Watkins is had a fantastic year. I mean, obviously
that was
the best year of his
that
career.
was the other great thing about this week for me was that Solanke was second on my bench.
He's
Solanke-
first on my bench.
Yeah, good for you.
Solanke
Did not come off.
was
Right,
second
exactly.
on my bench.
Yeah.
And
So
that was the difference right now between, like, in our mini league. Did you have Solanke?
Better managers.
Or did you not?
Better managers played him. So
Yeah, it was
Good job if you did.
Richarlison or Solanke, and I chose Richarlison.
Yeah.
I think I made the right choice, but it was the wrong choice this week.
Yeah.
So to that question, Dave, thinking about Tony versus Solanke, Brentford has West Ham game week 26. Bournemouth has City. Obviously, you take Tony in that
For sure.
But Bournemouth's next 2 weeks are Burnley.
Yep.
And then 28 is a double game week against Sheffield and Luton.
right, and
which
that's
we,
what
which we talked
right,
about a
we've-
bunch.
The
Why would you
thought,
not want Solanke?
Right. So Solanke,
You have one match.
Gotta
Put
stay.
him on your bench where he is anyways. What difference does it make?
He's got to stay in the team.
Solanke is the choice,
especially
Cheaper.
for me. I bought him at 6'5". He's up to 6'9". So
Well, he's down. He's back down to 6'9" because he was up to 7'1".
Yeah.
okay, all right. Either way, whatever. People are dumb, right?
Well, no, I
The
mean
masses are stupid.
Well,
No,
You gotta-
that's
you gotta
not
look
even,
at-
it's not even the masses. It's just, again, it's looking at fixtures. It's trying to figure out who to sell. Like we said last week, and I think again, like a really great point is you're deciding, and this is the Watkins Tony debate. You're deciding between two really good players.
Yeah.
It's entirely I think first it's a money thing, and then it's like
Opportunity.
yeah, and I think the difference, like for me, I think that I will look at Watkins and I'll say, well, look, Villa's schedule is pretty decent, like especially when the weeks. I think who do they have next? Like whatever they have coming up.
They got their home Forest at Luton, home Spurs at West Ham, home Wolves.
That's fine. That's as fine of a run of
fine.
matches as you can ask for. But for me, the question is going to be. Watkins is owned by what 60%? Is he
49.1%.
So he's almost 50%, and Tony is selected by what 9%, 20%,
If that.
11%. I'm just going to keep saying numbers between 5 and 25.
Until I can bring him up. He's on the second page because he only has 32 total points here. I just had him up. He is 9.2%.
Yeah. So that's low.
Owned.
And so just by virtue of not being selected by a lot of people, and I'd say Hoyland becomes another.
Hoyland is
another
in the
name
conversation.
there.
And
absolutely.
I also want to think, I think Luton's Carlton Morris
Right.
should be discussed as well.
Let's go to City.
He's got a
So let's
couple.
do City.
He's got a double too.
So let's go to City and Luton and just say that's the end of the. Like, let's just fold that right into the discussion.
Well, we introduced it as such.
So start with Luton and put City where they belong on a back
City
burner.
played Chelsea. City played Luton next. It was
right.
Manchester United this week to Luton 1.
City played Brentford next.
No.
Right? It was United Luton this current match week.
Oh, yeah,
Luton
I guess
plays
you're right.
City
Oh,
next,
I was just
right?
thinking of the double week people.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense. Yep, I'm tracking.
But Hoyland, absolutely in the mix of it needs to be talked about. I mean, we talked about him last week, but he just doubled down on it. Hoyland in his
All right,
last
fine.
6
Manchester
matches.
United 2, Luton 1.
Manchester United 2, Luton 1. We'll come back to the
Such a
City Chelsea. We'll come back to the
stupid
City
match.
Chelsea. It was it a stupid match? I've never seen a team. It was stupid. I know why you're saying that now. I'm picking up on that.
Yeah, of course it was stupid.
Luton should have pounded them.
They should have destroyed him.
Luton played such a sick game. They were unreal. I mean, Luton looked like City was playing Sheffield, and Manchester United was Sheffield, and Luton was City.
And go ahead and say it. If it wasn't for an unbelievable error that led to Hoyland's first goal,
super
and then
early.
an unbelievable lucky bounce off of the worst shot in history for the second goal, Hoyland has 0 goals.
Yeah.
So I love Hoyland's brace, but it required a weird
Calamitous.
play
Yeah.
in front of the Manchester United box to lead to the break that got the mistake that led to the Hoyland goal.
Well,
And then Garnacho's shot being as off as it was, and then it just goes. I mean, because
Didn't
he's
make any
magic
sense.
right now, and Hoyland can just chest it right into the goal.
now, this is I haven't looked at this stat. I watched the game, and I felt this stat. Luton's possession, 58. Manchester United, 41.
Yeah.
Or it was 58.5, 41.5.
Yeah.
Now, this is a little surprising. Shots on target. United had 9.
Yeah.
So,
but also, I mean, you saw. I think
took a
Premier
lot
League
of
does
shots.
it. They have the momentum, like that momentum chart that kind of shows the momentum of the match.
Mhm.
It is so heavily in favor of Luton for the majority of the game. Doesn't matter.
no.
2-1.
It was just United clearing. That's all
For
it was.
Luton, they destroyed the stats. Lose, obviously. The one winner is Carlton Morris. Dave gets a goal, gets 2 bonus.
I'm just
he goes for 2 bonus points.
His last 5 matches, 7-5, 11, 5, 8.
Yeah, and that's an 8-pointer for him. 4 shots, 1 on target, creates 2 chances, 2 in the match. The big losers in the match are Alfie Doughty and Adebayo.
Doughty had an amazing game.
Right.
He was great.
Created 3 chances, had 2 shots. I'd say he had one very good chance to score, a good to very good
Right-footed,
chance to
yeah.
score, right? But
Yeah.
yanked at 82 minutes, whatever. You're okay with him getting pulled at that point.
I would take Doughty on my team any day. I love that. That
Like
guy's
we said
awesome.
last week, he'll be great for Chelsea. next
He
year.
is the newest Lundstrom. Right.
It's just that so
He was playing up as a wingback. He was playing in a 3-4-3 system.
It's that so much goes to him and through him. Every corner, all the crosses, and that's exactly
He's
why
good at them. He looked like James Ward-Prowse back
He plays
there.
like a winger too. That you're
Adebayo
right, does.
not out there. I know we talked about him last week. Injured in warm up. So if you went to him, I don't think it was
brutal.
a bad move. And
Yeah.
right now he's a doubt, but still not 100% ruled out for Liverpool on Wednesday. I just even in that game you have to think Adebayo's 6'4", and he was replaced by Collie Woodrow, who's 6 feet.
Right.
So Adebayo,
Maybe.
I mean, that was something
He's a big guy.
just that Adebayo. There were a couple of times where I'm thinking of at least one cross that Doughty put in that kind of went over
People and would not have gone
Woodrow,
over Adebayo.
and it might not have gone over Adebayo.
Would have gone right to Adebayo's forehead into the back of the net.
Right. So I mean, again,
Woodrow made a couple of silly choices as well. It was frustrating his teammates because he was a typical striker, selfish.
yeah, and I mean, look, he's out there to fill a gap by somebody who was in form, somebody
Yeah.
who was playing extremely well, and so that's why,
Right.
good on Carlton Morris for making the most of a
Morris
good
is
chance.
5-0.
Yeah.
And he is 3.6% owned.
So
And in
you
other
keep saying that, but would you go to Morris just to get to Salah? Is that what you're looking at?
Yes.
Because
so
I'm trying to figure out
the
where
reason why I'm bringing Morris and Mooney's up. Well, first of all, there aren't many people who have better stats than Morris in the last 5 match weeks. He's pointed in the last 5 match weeks. So find me another striker not named Hoyland who's pointed in the last 5 match weeks. So I think that's worth mentioning. Also, there's people like me, there has to be people like me, who if Salah is, they're doing solid gymnastics in their head, is he healthy? Is he not? Is he coming back? Is he not? They're not playing next week, but is his price going up? Can I still do it 2 transfers, take 1 hit,
Right.
bank my transfer this week, don't even spend 1, save it for the following match week when Salah's back, I don't even have to take a hit. These are the mental gymnastics some of us are trying to do here, then trying to figure out a way, okay, Carlton Morris, can I squeeze him in there? Would I rather have him or would I rather have the Fulham guy, Mooney's? And then again, you're able to go from a Watkins down to someone who's 4-4,
Right.
the Fulham Mooney's.
So
Am I saying that right, Brian? Muniz.
Yeah, I heard someone say it as Muniz, just to,
Muniz?
but that could just be the British
Was it Arlo
announcers-
White?
announcerism of his name.
Muniz?
One of the reasons why I know it's a boring show so far. But,
Wow. Get on it, Travis. I hear you.
One of the reasons
fall
why
asleep.
I might lean that way is 1, price. 2, Fulham is one of the teams that has if you're thinking of like how you can plan for for through game week 29, Muniz is 4.4, has a game in 26, so that plays this coming weekend,
Yeah.
and then plays again in game week 29. So if you want to have a guy through that whole run where you may or may not play him, you're not going to feel bad benching him or whatever. So then I think that's where like the template part of it, like, so the money, like if you're doing like what you're doing, if it's like I need Salah, and the only way I can do it is to make my
You got to
third
make
striker,
money somewhere.
right? I need to make my third striker useless. It's going to be the Fulham striker.
But he's not useless. That's my point.
Sure, he's on a good run of matches here for sure, but he's in there, and I was gonna say, like, so he's got 4 goals in the last 3 game weeks.
Pretty good.
That's an 8, a 13, and an 8. So that's the last 3. He's got 2, 3, and 2 bonus points. So 2 bonus points, 3 bonus points. That's great. You want all the bonus points. 13 shots for Muniz in the last 3 game weeks, second only to Haaland. He's got 6 shots on target, which is tied for second only to Ollie Watkins, who has 7. He's got 3 big scoring chances. He's had 17 touches in the box, which is 4th among forwards. And he's created 2 chances. One of them was big. So, like, he's had a great run of 3 matches. And the other part of it for him is that Raul Jimenez is out a month. That's the timeline. That's the timeline on him as Ben
Raul
Henry
wasn't producing these numbers.
He was, but he did score.
Fine.
But he scored multiple matches. I know he scored at least 2 in a row where he was a consideration. He's hurt. There's no time. Like there again, it's a month is the way the timeline is given for him now, which is right now projected at the end of March. So, yeah, I would say useless in that. I just mean, like when you're deciding who to bench, you're not benching Haaland. And you're not benching Solanke
or Watkins.
Let's say it's Haaland.
Okay,
Haaland,
right,
Solanke, Watkins, Muniz. If you're going to bench a forward or you're going to bench an attacking player, odds are better that you're going to bench the 4.4 forward and just whatever. Maybe you get him first bench spot or whatever.
You're right. Okay, fair.
I'm just like,
now he's Brazilian. Does that help us in the pronunciation at all?
I don't know. Frankie Muniz. I don't hate it as a choice. I just don't know how useful it's going to be for what you're doing. I guess depend. Like,
right.
If
I'm
you
trying to make Salah money. That's what I'm trying to do.
Like, so then your midfield would be, if your midfield is Salah, Saka, someone Spurs,
Richarlison,
right?
Palmer, Foden.
Cole Palmer, Phil Foden. Are you ever benching any of those 5 for
It's really
Frankie
hard.
Muniz?
No.
Yeah.
Right, that's what I mean. So I think but
if you had to,
he's better than Cameron Archer. He's producing better than any other forward in the last 3 game weeks.
Yes, you're right.
So I don't know what you do with it.
Gotcha. I'm just trying to make Salah money. Is all I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to give options to the people.
I just think the plan, and I love the options. I think it's the planning problem. We're back where we were weeks ago. Of forwards are causing a problem here, because if you want to stay strictly,
there's too many playable forwards.
If you want to go strictly with the template,
strong midfielders.
Right, that's the thing. So if you want, so Haaland, now that he's back, you could go without him, but I mean, I guess you could go Watkins, Solanke, some other guy, and make your midfield Saka, Salah, I don't know, Richarlison, whoever you want, because you have all the money in the world.
De Bruyne,
right? If you want De Bruyne in there, do it. I guess that's why I'm saying, like,
you know who's not far behind. Well, the guy in front of him is Darwin. Is Morris? Morris is 2 points behind Darwin in the season.
Yeah.
And Darwin's not 25 points behind Solanke.
I do like it that you have, if you want to, like, if you do need to make up the money somewhere, you do have
forward
at least
options.
2.
Yeah.
5-0. Morris is 5-0, and Mooney's
and I would have said
Muniz.
I would have said last week the 2
is 4.4
because we talked about it last week. Both of the Luton forwards were options going into the double
I actually
week.
remember that.
Right. So anyway,
all right. Very good. I wanted to bring that up, and then of course we got to eventually get to Hoyland, who played in this match. Even though
Yes, he
Brian
did.
said he made his own luck, Travis What's your take on Hoyland? He's pointed in 6 straight matches that he's played in, technically 5 in a row. Then there was one that he sat in where he did not play, so he did not score. But the game before that, he did. So the last 6 matches he's played, he has given you a return in all of them.
The thing about Hoyland that is
and granted, he might have made his own luck.
Yes,
in a couple.
But the thing about him that is starting to show is the confidence to finish those opportunities that maybe
he had
aren't.
the same opportunities early in the season,
and he kind of was soft.
And now he's figuring it out.
Yeah.
And now he's banging him in the back of the net. No thanks to Bruno Fernandes, by the way, who looked horrible in this match.
He's just like
I've never seen a guy. Wow. No thanks to Bruno Fernandes.
Weird. Garnacho and Hoyland both look like players that are going to do something every time they touch the ball.
Garnacho.
That's confidence. That's what confidence will do.
Martinelli light, Brian, is what Garnacho seems to remind me of sometimes.
Yeah.
With better teeth. Yeah.
Worse hair.
Yeah, for sure.
He and your boy Harvey Elliott, man.
We could go on and on and on about how crappy people's hair are. I mean, we know.
We should be able to say that.
Yeah.
What are they going to say about us?
That's right. Hoyland is super confident. I think he's definitely worth looking at. But
current price is 7.2.
So the issue becomes then that price is
it's Solanke. It's in the Solanke range.
Yeah. It is
6-7.
But I don't know if United are consistent enough performers.
So Bournemouth is more consistent than United.
Well, Solanke is more consistent, right?
Not in the last 6 match weeks. Even though Solanke's been pretty good.
Yeah.
He hasn't been Hoyland. No one has scored more points from the striker position than Hoyland in the last 5 match weeks.
Yeah.
Period.
That's fair.
He's got
that's
3 out of the 5 double-digit games. He's got his last
points are points.
His last 5 match weeks: 11, 10, 8, 6, and now 13.
Yep.
Yeah. It's just hard to say to go to someone that's so unknown, but ultimately, to your point, the numbers say it's time.
Yeah, the numbers were great 5 weeks ago for sure, but this
they're undeniable now.
Yeah, it's still it will never not be a problem to me to see 6 goals from 8 shots on target. It's just not.
Yeah.
That's just not.
Brian, but I've heard. I hear you.
That's not a real. No one does that for
Yeah.
very long, and that's. I mean, he can. Peter Schmeichel saying that he can be as good as Van Nistelrooy. Like he has the talent, and everybody talking about how we just wanted to be. As we just needed to have patience, and he just needed time, and we're glad that he's finally paying off. He can be one of the best in the. Sure, I'm sure he could be. I mean, he was brought here with high hopes, high expectations. He didn't meet them, and now all of a sudden he's on an 89% conversion rate. Like that's the part for me where I'm like, the thing that's appealing to me is that he's at 10% selection. Even with all of the transfers in right now, he's at 10%. So that's the part for me where I'm like, yes, I don't believe it for a second that this is going to keep happening. But at the same time, It is happening. The fixtures are fine other than the Manchester derby. He can still anybody can score against Manchester City. Anybody can. So they can have a better game than... I'm not selling Solanke to get him.
Solanke in the same period, 2-8, 2-4, 12.
Yeah.
Remember, Hoyland had 3 double digits in his last 5 match weeks. So Solanke had 1, and he had 2 games where he didn't do anything at all. Now, Brian, I don't know how many. I'm sure we could bring it up, and you probably don't have it keyed up. How many shots did Solanke have in those matches where he scored 2 goals? Solanke scored 2 goals in the last 5 match weeks, and Hoyland has, 6?
Yeah.
So
the numbers for Solanke are awesome because he's got 14 goals on the season, 14 goals from 27 shots on target. But he's taken 76 total shots. In the last 5 weeks, Hoyland's taken 10 total shots
and scored on
and
6 of them.
6 are goals. Like That's
fair.
the part that for me is like,
And it's not like brilliant individual efforts. It's fluky stuff.
He's had to have help
yeah,
get
I'm
there.
not.
And that's what's so difficult. It's not
I don't think I've seen every goal.
Tenacious finisher, and he's doing a good job, but it's just weird how it's happening, and so it's a little shaky, and it's kind of hard to think that that's going to consistently keep moving. And I guess that's what I'm getting at with the consistency. And United and Chelsea both are in the same boat. They show up and they dominate, or they show up and they get trashed.
Yeah.
United showed up and they got trashed, but they still found a way to win because of those two fluky goals. So I just don't know if we can count on that to happen week in, week out.
I think there is something to say too for like the XG numbers, the numbers overall, like for the season. Like Ollie Watkins, 13 goals from 33 shots on target, an XG of 12.55. So 13 goals from an XG of 12.5.
Okay.
That you look at that
Close
and you're
numbers.
like,
Okay,
normal.
makes sense.
Holland has 16 goals from an XG of 17.88. So Holland undeniably is underachieving.
Okay.
Like he is in a slump that everyone can see that he's in a slump right now. So like
those two headers told me that.
Right.
Hey, can I have one of those M&Ms?
Sure.
Thanks.
This segment brought to you by Peanut Butter M&Ms. Like Darwin, huge underachiever, just like you'd expect. 9 goals from an XG of 13.68. That is exactly right. He should have scored at least 4 more times in this season. So you look at that and you're like, nope, that's exactly right. And then Højlund, like this is where the numbers even out. He's got 7 goals from an XG of 7.18. So so you look at it and you're like, they've all just come in this one big bunch. He probably should have done better earlier in the season. He's massively overachieving right this minute. Like, can he keep it somewhere in the middle the rest of the season? Yeah. I mean, why not? I mean, that was the thing, I think, when Manchester United was in Loserville, and I'm sure we weren't the only ones saying it, like, it doesn't have to be like this. Like, they have the talent, they're creating the chances, they're kind of getting into the positions. It's just not happening. Rashford was, is still out of sorts. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what his deal is, whatever his personal life issue or whatever.
He's not right, and Bruno Fernandes is
something's not right. Bruno's definitely off it, but now that it's the other guys, it's now it is Garnacho. They're still playing though. Like even this week, Bruno created second most chances to Odegaard. Odegaard, I think, was number 1, or tied with it was Odegaard and Bruno were like on 8 or 9.
I do not believe
like
Bruno's that high up.
He's also takes their free kicks too. So
right, so like
they got slab head on all the corners. So
yeah, all of that to say, like I'm not throwing the full bucket of cold water. It's more of like one scoop of cold water to just dump slowly on it. You know what I'm saying? Like because I'm saying that as someone that like I might end up replacing Darwin with him. Do you know what I mean?
That wouldn't be a bad one. All right,
that's why I think
it's the same sort of proposition.
I think that's the strategy overall. Is like you look at these guys and you're like, how much are you planning for? Like, so next week, Darwin cannot be in your team if you're not free hitting next week.
No, if I had Darwin, there's no doubt.
Darwin
going out.
He's going out for somebody.
Højlund in. Easy for next week.
Oh, okay. You do it for sure going right into next week.
Yeah,
I'm just saying
Darwin's not playing next week.
No, for sure. I'm just saying like the long-term planning of it. Like if you didn't have Solanke, I think the matchups overall with the double game week, I think that favors Solanke. If it was a 1-to-1, you're just choosing one guy, I would go with Solanke. Yeah. But I understand why you would choose Højlund. It just like for me, who has Solanke and no Watkins, that's my problem. Is that I'm looking at it and I'm like, I have the money to go from Darwin to Watkins. Is that my straightforward move just because Watkins has been kind of the man this year? He really has been. He's been awesome.
Yeah.
So that's the tough, like that's I think the tough decision. No. And then if you want to throw in the wrinkle of, do I need the money? Do I need to go Darwin down to Muniz so that I can free up that money to make, I don't know, to turn. So what if I want to move Cole Palmer up? Like, what if it's time to move Cole Palmer up to somebody? You know what I'm saying? Like, I think we're going to talk about when we get to Spurs, but like Spurs' schedule for like 7 weeks is going to be there. Is going to be as a desirable a team, as hot of a commodity as there is for a team in the league.
Where's Sonny?
Great question. What do you want to? What do you want? Who do you want? Do you want to go to City next? For sure?
City, Chelsea.
Okay.
We already mentioned them earlier. City won, Chelsea won. My favorite result of the weekend.
I'll bet.
I love seeing City stumble, and I love that Raheem Sterling got one back on the boys. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Was so glad that Holland had an off day. His 2 headers, I was torn because I'm a triple captain. I think secretly I was rooting. I was rooting for a draw or loss for City,
like
obviously, but I wanted Holland to score.
You put yourself into the highest confliction point. Triple captaining Holland.
Yeah.
For City, who you want to lose, playing against Chelsea, who you hate more than anyone.
It was, Brian, I was conflicted in so many ways, I had none.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense?
Oh, no, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, thanks. So, all that being said, Palmer does not get you anything, unfortunately. I was kind of hoping that the ex-City boys. Did I play him? I don't know. Let me check. I did not play him. He's in my first bench spot.
I hope you benched him.
Okay, I lied earlier. Solanke was in my last bench spot. In my face. But he was not. I had Palmer and Estupinian in front of him.
Yeah.
How smart was that? Anyway,
not smart. Didn't matter, though.
It did not matter.
Holland triple captainers flatlining right now. Hey, if stats and XG is worth anything, you love life. 9 shots again, like number 1, and that's before they play against Brentford. I think what I've got for XG for him is 1.43. There might be a stat out there somewhere else that's higher. All of my stats are coming from Fantasy Football Fix, who you talk about every week.
I thought I saw 1.88, but
it feels like it should have been
fair.
I mean, he had 3 big chances to score, so that's, to me, his XG should be 3. 3 big chances. Holland's XG is 3.
Yeah.
And he scored 0.
Yeah,
so
good point.
All 9 shots in the box, and then, like you said, some of them were. I mean, at least one of them was
the 2 headers.
Don't know how he did it.
Foden doesn't get you anything. KDB nothing. Defense nothing. It was a big nothing burger for City. Pretty much
a tough one.
Nothing is.
Kyle Walker got an assist, right?
No. No.
I think it was Kyle Walker that got that assist.
Did they end up giving it to him?
I think they gave Kyle Walker the assist.
That's so lucky for anyone who has Kyle Walker.
Yeah, looking at you, League
because,
Billy.
Of course, Rodri, of course it would be him, Dave. I feel like that should have been your starting point.
I know. I lost a Rodri bet. I refuse to bring him up anymore.
So, yeah, 2 things. One, Doku starts. Doku does a lot, but does a lot of nothing.
Old dribble around Doku.
Now that's your good nickname, and this is where I would only recommend that you go read Manchester City Alex. Read what his post match. You can only call it a rant.
Was it about dribble around Doku?
Yeah, volatile is one of the words he used. The full description was extremely volatile to describe Doku as a player.
His situation playing for the
as
club,
a City,
or his
just as a Manchester City player and what he brings when he starts. So
volatility.
102 touches for Doku in this match. De Bruyne 97, Foden 76. Alex's exact quote was, "If I'm a manager, I know who I want to get the most touches out of those 3, and it's certainly not Doku."
Okay.
So
if you're the opposing team, you want Doku
because
touches.
He just sits in the corner.
The numbers are crazy.
He dribbles to the corner, and then he dribbles out of the corner, but then dribbles back to the corner, then dribbles out, and then dribbles back.
10 dribbles, so 10 attempted take-ons. Great. 3 successful dribbles. Not good. Not good. 19 what the league describe what stats describe as ground duels. 19 ground duels. Won 6 of them. So he won 6 out of his 19 ground duels.
19 ground duels.
He lost possession in this match 27 times. Ooh. So I remember, people talking about what a game Gusto was having, and I just thought, if Grealish or Wilf Zaha or any other capable winger was on that side, they would have. He drew also the other hilarious stat. He drew 1 foul. Like anyone else would have drawn, I don't know, 9 fouls on that number of dribbles. Like
Greece would have drawn 20.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Anybody else who knew what they're doing would have tricked him into doing something. And Gusto somehow comes away looking like, I don't know, who is your guy? Who's your great defender? Who is your prime awesome defender? Come on, who's like the all
Steve Bolt.
No. Oh no, it's not.
Craig
It's
Dawson?
Manchester United. No,
Craig
it's Manchester United.
Dawson.
No, not Craig Dawson. Not Koscielny. I know you're no, and not
Thomas Vermaelen?
No.
Skirtle. Martin Skirtle.
No, it's different people. I was thinking Ashley.
Agger.
I was
Ashley
thinking
Cole.
I was thinking Ashley Cole.
Okay.
No, it's not. That's not.
We
him.
got there.
No, what I'm saying is like anybody else would have done way better, I think, than he did in this match. So, yeah, I just think what it feels like for strategy purposes for Manchester City.
Were you thinking of Dennis Rodman,
I was thinking of Dennis Rodman,
the best defender of
Yeah,
all time?
that's what I
okay.
was thinking.
Sorry. Okay. Back on.
Ashley
back on.
Cole was a little bit below the belt, though, I would say, for a Gunner fan.
I was gonna say, yeah, not an NBA podcast. It was not Gary Payton, the glove.
The glove.
No, just I think the difficulty is like Grealish's injury that's another one. Not as bad as they. I mean, he's progressing better than they were hoping. Like Grealish isn't going to be out for a really long time. I would just say like one of the long-term Manchester City like planning bits. Again, to go back to Alex, just he said that the biggest games of the season. Haaland, De Bruyne, Foden, Rodri, Bernardo Silva will be locked in
Locks.
with Grealish or Kovacic joining them, and described it. He said facilitators and enablers. He has part of his to summarize the long rant that he has. It was just that he described Haaland and Doku as positionally static. So when he said compared when they are both playing. The attack isn't nearly as fluid because of what they both do. When you take one or both out, the attack is way more fluid because the creative guys, because then it's De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, Foden being able to roam free with Julian Alvarez, who's a creative guy on his own too. Like you have a way different dynamic of fluidity going forward. Just saying, look how they were when Haaland was out, when Doku was out in that same period of time. They didn't suffer. Like they were way more fluid as an attacking side. Anyway, he just said I would expect Julian Alvarez and Doku to be on the bench when it comes to a true first choice setup. As long as City's chasing. When will they not be in first choice setup? Like, what part of the league are they ever going to have the luxury of saying, no, we'll let our B team handle this if they
don't have a B team.
I was going
That's exactly it.
On the tips of my tongue, oh my goodness, I don't know what happened to their depth, but they do not have any. Liverpool has lost so many guys, and they have so many guys step up. And maybe it's not to the level that they want sometimes, but they're still in first place. City has, for whatever reason, it feels like in forever, zero margin for error. Was Oscar Bob going to come in and save your?
He's been very good. Oscar Bob has been very good for them.
He's fine. I'm just
I just think that this is the other part of it is I think you see Foden out-touched by Doku by almost 30. I can't imagine that happens again. Foden, he's been as important a player for them that they could possibly have asked for this season. It just seems like if they really are your best players, you really do want them to have the ball more. He's not going to play isolated on the wing while Doku tries to dribble around whoever he's got in front of him.
Yeah,
that's not going to happen.
Agreed.
So whether that's however Pep adjusts tactically, I think it's to be seen. It just seems like they're not going to do that again. So maybe they will. Maybe he's crazy. Maybe he just says, no, we're going to let him play his way into this and he's going to figure it out and we're going to just let him do it. It just doesn't, like you said, no margin for error here.
Likely.
Travis, did Nico Jackson or Raheem Sterling do anything to get back on your radar?
No.
Okay. Yeah, me neither. Chelsea's horrible except for Cole Palmer.
Chelsea's just volatile.
All right. Anything else?
Yeah, they really are
anything else
volatile.
on City at this point? Again, I own Holland on triple captain, Foden, and I have Ake, and I'm.
I feel like the picks are just kind of themselves. That you know who you're picking.
Yeah.
So
I
you're
know.
either
I don't think there's much to talk about.
even this week, the decision came down to: do I want to swap Bowen up to De Bruyne, or do I turn Joao Pedro into Darwin Nunez?
Yeah.
And like, if I was thinking of game week 26, Manchester City playing, Liverpool not playing, I guess it was an option to pick De Bruyne to hit the double game week and then have a playable the guy there. But Bowen is playing. I was losing Jared Bowen, who is playing in 26 already. I was losing a dead player. I would have swapped him. To me, it just didn't make sense. Whatever. I don't need to relive my horrible decisions again.
Hey, let's talk Arsenal. Arsenal 5, Burnley 0.
All right, what's next?
It's just the hottest team in the league. We should talk about them. They have multiple guys worth talking about. We don't have to discuss.
They did it against Burnley. You expect them to do it against Burnley.
They did it against Liverpool too. 3-1 against Liverpool.
Not 5.
Drop 3 on you.
And that was a you statement.
Whatever.
What do we care? It's just Burnley.
In the segment that I like to call there's not much to say about these guys.
The Burnley team who gave Liverpool all they wanted 2 weeks ago.
Bukayo Saka is in unbelievable form, and I am thrilled to have been bullied into picking.
I was
going to
say, Brian, it's the biggest,
ago.
it's the best bully that you've ever.
My
last 4 match weeks, 10-9, 15-15.
I now
Brian.
approve of bullying
God.
when it comes to that kind of bullying.
Perfect.
Yeah,
that's perfect.
There is no question about what to do with him other than have him at all costs. It should be the number one transfer.
Well, the cost is 9.
He's over 9. He should be, whether he was 9 or 10 or whatever it is. It's it just should be. He should be 90.
Who's the bully now, Brian?
He should be 90%, and you're an idiot if you don't have him. And I'll punch you right in the stomach if you don't pick him.
Can we talk about someone who we haven't talked about much?
Leandro Trossard.
Don't you dare say Odegaard.
Leo.
Who, Trossard?
Leo.
You can't talk about him. We've
What?
talked about him plenty.
Minutes.
We don't talk about Leo?
Listen.
8-1, 8-8, 11?
He keeps doing it, and it was the same thing 4 weeks ago with Gabriel Martinelli, where Martinelli had he had like a 7, 8, 3, 14, and the question was the same. Like, is this enough?
Martinelli has not put up Leo stats.
He did for 4 weeks.
I don't know. Did he do that?
Yes. And now he's on two. Now he's on back-to-back threes.
Well, he went 5-14, 3-10.
That's extremely good.
Not like 8-8, 13, 15, 8 something.
Everything with Trossard is he's not going to keep starting. He just isn't.
I know.
I
that is a concern.
Look, we talked about all of his per 90 numbers are as good as anybody else's in the league. It's just that those 90s
the other
happen
thing
almost
is,
never.
though, Brian, something here recently.
If you have a Arsenal vibe that says, "Hey, Trossard has supplanted Jesus or something," and this
Jesus is not healthy.
Okay.
And even when he was healthy, he hasn't been playing. And Eddie Nketiah is healthy and not playing. It's Trossard.
He's got to be averaging something like 40 minutes.
Trossard plays, he'll get you 60.
He has 9 starts in 25 games.
I would like to fold Leandro Trossard.
And all of them are last 4 or 5.
No, they're spread out.
I want to fold him in with the Odegaard part of the discussion too, because I would just say there's nothing really to say.
You told me I couldn't talk about Odegaard.
Well, just that there isn't much to say about Odegaard either. We talked about him last week, and we've agreed for weeks on end that he's a very good pick, just not someone that's like, I need to go have him. The correct answer this week was you should have gone back to him. He's the number 2 midfielder scoring in the last 2 game weeks, second only to Bukayo Saka. He's got 20. Now he's got a 10 and a 14.
Yeah.
Odegaard in back-to-back weeks. My favorite, 2 goals in 2 weeks from 3 shots total. and then an XG of 0.16. Like highly sustainable, as you can tell.
Oh my goodness.
What really is sustainable though? 10 chances created in the last 2 game weeks.
Right.
Tied for number 1 with Bruno Fernandes. That's what I was thinking of. Is in the last 2 game weeks, Odegaard and Bruno
is that high.
there's 2 weeks, but still, Martin Odegaard and Bruno Fernandes are 2 of the best chance creators for midfielders for the season overall.
Okay.
He's the number 1 overall midfielder with 3 assists in the last 2 weeks. So, like, that makes perfect sense. The issue with both of those guys is how are you fitting him in? In what way? What are you moving? Who are you willing to sacrifice to make Saka and Odegaard 2 of your 5 midfielders?
Well, the problem with Saka, not with Saka, the problem with Odegaard is 8.4 price point.
Right.
So Douglas Luiz ahead of him by 1 point on the season, 5.5. Pascal Gross, 6.4, ahead of him. Gordon ahead of him, 6.1. Bowen ahead of him, 7.7. Palmer ahead of him, 8.1. Foden ahead of him, 8. In other words,
Bowen's ahead of
Odegaard,
him despite the slump that he has been
exactly.
in. Right.
So Odegaard, due to his price point, he's getting Kun Aguero'd out of no one owning him.
Yeah.
We all remember, maybe we all don't, but there was about 5-6 years ago, Kun Aguero's price was so inflated that no one owned him pretty much throughout the entire fantasy season. And it didn't matter what he did. His price was so inflated. It wasn't like he was producing Holland numbers, but that's the equivalent sort of what his price point was. But anyways, I digress.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to turn one of those guys into someone as good of a player as Odegaard is, or as explosive of a player as
real life right now.
Trossard
He's
is.
he's a lot of fun to watch.
I just don't. Yeah, for sure.
All right, defense.
The correct answer of which Arsenal defender was the best to have this game week. The correct answer was Kivior.
Okay.
So yeah, I have Gabriel and Saliba. I started them both this week, and I just thought Kivior's 4.3. It is. How long is he doing this?
I don't. He fits into the Trossard category of I don't know how much longer he's going to be starting. I have more confidence that Trossard's going to continue to start. Although I will say this, Kivior has not producing. He hasn't been making mistakes. Teams have been when he's been in it.
He got an assist on the throw-in.
He got an assist on the throw-in. Fair. He almost scored a goal a couple weeks ago.
Right. Yep.
Good header right at the keeper. Unfortunately, my point being is
there's nothing defensively about him that you've seen him where you're like, oh boy, as soon as Zinchenko's back,
right?
That's
correct. He is not screwed up, and so. One would think that Tomiyasu would come back in, but I don't know. Arteta's kind of been pretty hard-nosed about certain things, and once you're kind of in the starting lineup, and if you don't get injured and you keep producing, then you kind of just stay there.
Yeah. So that's why
Ever since Smith Rowe got hurt, he's never been able to come back. Remember, let's not forget, not long ago it was Smith Rowe Martinelli, who's going to get, and then Smith Rowe gets hurt, and Martinelli's never looked back.
Right.
I mean, it's done deal.
And even a couple of times this season when it looked like it was going to be Trossard having a great performance, Martinelli feels like he's kind of struggling. Martinelli
changed. Comes right back in.
Martinelli just stays.
That's what I'm saying. So I don't know. Kivior might end up staying there.
It seems like the frustration is high enough with
Zinchenko.
Arsenal fans broadly that Zinchenko is not.
That's undeniable.
If he's not coming back in anytime soon, I don't think anyone's going to be that upset.
No one will care.
Right.
He is I've said it on this pod multiple times, defensive liability.
Yeah.
And he showed it in games.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
it's just Tomiyasu, I think, is getting close to being back. And then, Timber, there's hopes that
that's true.
Timber's on the horizon. He might be a month away.
We'll see. If he had not torn a ligament, I'd still have him. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, I know.
I never would have gotten rid of him.
and Arsenal would be first on the table.
He came in at 5.
Was it 5?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yep.
He's down to 4-6 if he comes back.
He was in my week
All right,
1 team.
moving on from Arsenal. There's nothing else we need to talk about, right?
No, they're just crushing right now. So I have 3. I am maxed out.
I will say this. Some people might ask, what's the difference now between Arsenal? You have 3 Arsenal players.
Yeah.
All right, we'll get to that. People might ask, what's the difference now between them early in the season when they couldn't score and then now? And I don't know if anyone has any good reasons other than the fact, and this is going to be funny, they went to Dubai. Ever since they came back from Dubai, they've been scoring in buckets. The one thing that does seem to be noticeable is that they are shooting way more.
Yeah.
And they're not trying to dribble the ball in, Travis. It
Yeah.
seems like they're shooting the ball more, and they're getting good results from it. And it's making other things happen. And I'm sure technically they've done other things, and we just can't seem to pick up on it. But also Havertz kind of playing in this.
Havertz had a great game too.
He did.
He scored on the Kivior throw-in.
Yeah.
It was Havertz that got that goal.
So and Havertz had to dribble a couple people, and then it was a good take on goal.
Yeah.
Havertz playing in this slotted position, so Declan is able to do his thing in front of the defense, and then Havertz has this little moving slot position where he's able to find runs and passes. He seems to really fit in that position well, and he's been producing. Look, is he producing assists and goals every week? Not necessarily, but he's been having really, really good games. So I don't know. Maybe they finally found something in him, and things have calmed down about the Havertz talk.
Kivior, just one other thing too, his bonus point score in a normal game with a normal score of
It was
of a clean
34.
sheet.
Is that what you're getting at? It was the bonus points structure in that last match was 34. That
Yeah.
normally gets you something.
I was gonna say, if it's not 5-0 or against West Ham last week 6-0,
Right.
he's on bonus 100%.
Yeah.
Because he's a defender who gets a clean sheet and got an assist.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any other actions for him get bonus points.
Yeah. No doubt.
Peanut butter M&Ms are really delicious.
All right. Let's should we talk some Spurs and Wolves?
No.
All right. So Wolves 2, Tottenham 1. We don't have to talk about that. I would like to know when Sonny's coming back. And then the other thing is Joao Gomez has a brace.
Stop saying that.
And Pedro Neto shows back up with an assist, and Sarabia keeps giving you something fantasy-wise.
Off a corner, but yeah.
I'm just saying Wolves have something to talk about there. We've talked about Wolves in this. Look, if it's not Hwang, which he chans back.
Sonny finishes by WhoScored.com ratings. Sonny finishes as the lowest rated player of anyone that did not sub in the match.
What happened?
What?
He just was not good.
Is it his finger from his table tennis?
Yes, that does not
Fight.
help.
Does his fingy hurt?
He attempted 0 shots.
Yeah, you didn't hear about his
I
altercation
did
with the
not
younger
hear
player.
this. 0 XG.
You do not want Son attempting 0 shots. Son-
0.12 XA.
Yeah, that's
Son
weird.
created 1 chance. It's not what you want Sonny doing.
Yeah,
you don't
that's
want
so weird.
Kulishevsky scoring your only goal.
That was a good goal, though.
No matter what team you're on.
Yeah.
That was a good goal. Did you see that goal?
Look,
I didn't.
I feel like
He
this was
just basically waltzed down the byline. It was great. Craig Dawson did not defend.
It was great
He got
timing on a
stood
goal.
up. Yeah, it was good.
well. Spurs have been like most of the season fun Spurs,
Yeah.
fun explosive Spurs. Let's live on the edge Spurs. This game wasn't that.
No, it's not.
And
It was
I
subdued, yeah.
is this
Look-
the first? Is this the outlier or is this what is this?
It's been a little bit of that.
I mean, I think
Is this the beginning of a
and
trend?
part of it too is we've talked
hard to
about it
say.
before. Wolves have played them really tough. They always do. This is just a continuation of a trend that every time they play, it is like a war. So it's gone kind of one way or the other. Again, it was regardless of whether Spurs are really good or not. So yeah, I'm not sure what you expect in this match, except they should have had a better showing at home. They just didn't.
Neto's at a 5.7.
What I think is that
Yes, he is. And
Either-
I own him.
Yeah, you probably feel pretty good about it. Did you play him this week?
I played him and Richarlison over Solanke.
You don't love that.
it's not stupid. I just think game
It
week.
seemed like a good idea.
You,
at the
you
time.
still got a return from Neto.
Yeah, but not Richarlison.
Well,
That didn't feel good.
As of right now, they do not have Wolves and Bournemouth are in what you would say is a. So they do play next week. They are one of the matches that you'd say, as of right now, are a possible blank in game week 29. But I mean, I would put it in the closer to a toss-up. Wolves and Bournemouth will go forward in game week 29 if Brighton beats Wolves in the FA Cup. So
Okay.
that can happen. And then if Leicester beats Bournemouth in their match in the FA Cup,
could happen.
it could happen. So again, if it was like who's playing Bristol City? One of those teams.
This is not an FA Cup podcast.
I know, but it's one of the matchups. Somebody's got Bristol City, where it's like I think
a
Newcastle.
Premier League
Bristol.
team.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Oh,
it's
they're
like,
going to lose that one.
Newcastle will.
Yeah. They're going to play academy players because they don't have
No,
a second
sorry,
team.
Blackburn.
Oh,
Blackburn
okay.
Rovers.
Well,
Newcastle plays Blackburn. Either way, like you'd say, like there's almost no chance of Newcastle featuring in game week 29.
they got 2 Liverpool loanees.
Way
that are
different
playing
for
well.
Wolves and Bournemouth. Again, like
Okay.
I'd say that's a way better possibility of going forward, just given the nature of the matchup. I'm just saying, like if that ends up going forward, you find out that match ends up happening. Yeah, Wolves are going to be like they'll be hugely popular because it's Wolves Bournemouth.
Okay.
So it just kind of depends. Like the matchups are really good. I think overall are good enough for them where you're like, yeah, you should. And plus, we've seen it already from Neto. You've seen it from He-Chan. Dave, you said Joel Gomez. Prior to this week, Joel Gomez had 2 total returns.
I know.
So 2 assists for the season. He now has 2 goals and
Right.
2 assists for the
No, I
season.
know. He had a banger of a day.
Probably worth mentioning that the manager of the Brazilian national team was in attendance at this match.
Good time to have a banger.
Right. So the Brazilian had the game of his life in a Wolves shirt
When the Brazilian national coach.
against Richarlison and Emerson Royal, also Brazilian.
Oh, that's so great.
At least that's how at least one Wolves news outlet put it.
I
So
love it.
you
I
want
love it.
you want Joel Gomez? He's just 4.9. He's 1.0 or is 0.1% selected. Sure.
All right.
Go get him.
We've mentioned Ollie Watkins and Muniz plenty. So I'm gonna throw some games out there. Villa 2, Fulham 1, Bournemouth 2, Newcastle 2, West Ham 0, Forest 2, Brighton 5, Sheffield 0, and then the game today that no one cared about, Palace 1 and Everton 1. So Villa Fulham, we've already mentioned plenty in this match, right? Muniz, and Watkins both give you something. Watkins with a brace.
I think the question with Villa is how heavy do you want to go after these guys? Because again, they play in 26 and they definitely play in 29. So if you want guaranteed fixtures in weeks where other teams are blanking, go hog wild.
And Douglas Luiz, you can't guarantee on him giving you a return every week, but he's in the top 10 in midfielder scoring. At 5'5", Douglas Luiz is not a bad like this week. If I needed to bring someone in and I don't know who to bring in and I was just going to make a transfer, selling Jota, and I might do this week now that I know Salah's completely out. Selling Jota this
allegedly.
week to bring it, allegedly.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's a blank game week.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
that's true.
So selling Jota this week, if I don't have to worry about making a double transfer to bring in while I'm trying to figure out who to bring in, bringing in Douglas Luiz for the next match week, it's not a bad move. I'm just saying that there's worse moves. Sure, you could bring in anyone that you know is playing, and it would be a good move, right, Brian? I mean, Trossard next week that's not a bad punt. Oh, I never got back around to this. Who you got? You said you had 3 gunners.
Yeah.
You have Saka, Saliba,
And Gabriel.
and Gabriel.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. I only have 2.
Should have gone to Kivior.
Should have.
Should have.
You still can.
Still. Can.
You know who else you could go to? Looking at midfielders, Hudson Odoi is having a quietly.
Really?
Yeah, he's on a heater right now.
Yeah, 10, 9, 11 in the last 3. 5, 1, 10, 9, 11 in the last 5.
Yep.
Really?
I would put Hudson Odoi ahead of
4.7. Is that his price? 4.7.
At 4.7. That is.
Wow, Travis, good call there.
I'd put him ahead of Gomez, but behind Douglas Luiz. And the only reason why
Luiz
is
can't put
because
up numbers in those 3 weeks like that.
it's just that he's been great. Yeah, 3 weeks in a row, really good. His minutes have been sporadic since game week 13.
But not the last 3 weeks.
That's very true. His minutes have been great.
He's
for the
finally
last 3
got minutes, and he's putting them in the back of the net.
He has started 5 of the last 7 games. So 2 games in the last 7, he was benched. He had come off the bench. Among midfielders in the last 7 weeks, he is tied for 8th in points. He's 39 points since in the last 7 games. 3 goals and an assist. That's fine. 6 shots. Not good. 4 on target. That's efficient.
If you're efficient, it's good.
That's efficient, but a nice way of saying that's like the lowest possible midfielder volume.
Yeah.
All right.
And everything he's doing is on the edge of the 18 as well. He's not in.
I mean,
the
it's
mix.
Nottingham Forest
Everything's
too.
outside.
I feel like the best Hudson Odoi you saw at Chelsea, or when he was the best that you ever saw of him. You're like, man, if this guy could just get some time, get some run. That's why he's not there anymore. It's happening sporadically here. He's fine. That's the thing. Like, he's created 10 chances. It's top 20-ish. Like, Bruno Guimaraes and Luis Diaz have created the same number of chances. You're not buying those guys for chance creation. And you'd rather probably go to Luis Diaz, I think. He's created 3 big chances. That's fine. He's had 17 touches in the box, which I can't even give you the rank. Just know that Saka is number 1 with 65. So it's not like, it's like an amazing run of matches. The price is unbelievable. I just think the fixtures probably are what swing
The
you out of
numbers
it.
are going to turn back.
Villa, home Liverpool, at Brighton, and then even if the game week 29 fixture happens, it's at Luton. So I don't know.
It's bears noting he's to use your terminology, he's on a heater for sure. But I put him in the same category as Hoyland, where you have to acknowledge what they're doing, but it doesn't seem like it's going to hold up long term, or even potentially even in the middle
Yeah, you
term.
hear that, Dave?
So go to both of them.
Whatever, guys. Whatever.
Prove us wrong.
Hey, did I also mention Bournemouth 2, Newcastle 2 in that list of games? I just want to open that
Probably.
game up to being discussed. We've talked Solanke a ton. There's plenty of Newcastle. There's Gordon. There's Newcastle defense, which people continue to own, and sometimes I wonder why. But sure, there's probably
because they're scoring.
Are they though?
Like actual goals. Like
They're
who's scoring their goals
scoring
or the
goals is their
defenders.
defenders.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, if that's the case, then rock on.
I think what's going to swing it for Newcastle, like after they get through Manchester City, again, it's not like they're not like essential. It's not like an essential buy right now. It's just that if Bournemouth and Wolves somehow goes ahead in 29, that changes a lot. But next, like after City, game weeks 27 and 28 for them. Travis, you already said the matchups are fantastic. It's going to change the way everybody looks at their. I had Senesi at one point in this season.
Yes, you did.
I don't see why you wouldn't go back. Like,
I agree.
Roll the dice if you're going to go back to him. That's why I think on a double game week, if people are going to take chances on, like, I saw people talking about how, like, you might look at Tavernier as an option in a double game week. Like, if you were really going crazy and wanted to take a chance on somebody, why not take a chance on Tavernier? 'Cause in good matchups, the guy's he's a good player, and if you want to really go after the doubles, like that's the kind of guy who can have a game.
All right.
Back to your guy Semenyo, Dave. You want to really go crazy and put Semenyo? Wait, that was your guy?
It was
Yeah,
not my
I had
guy.
him
That
early.
was his guy.
It was Travis's guy.
It's the other bald guy.
Yeah. No, I just think
braids.
it'll be a different. I think it'll be a different
Jealous.
set of considerations.
All right.
Once after City, I think the only real news for Newcastle was that Anthony Gordon took a penalty, and that's how they scored one of the goals. My other guy, Matt Ritchie.
Isak.
Well, Raji came off the bench and scored the equalizer.
Oh, Raj.
Yeah. No, just the Anthony Gordon, a penalty kick for him. If you held on to Anthony Gordon this long, good on you.
Some people have.
I have.
Do you really?
Yeah,
You played him this week.
I did.
His ownership's 15%.
That's not horrible.
Yeah, I got him at.
I got him, and I'm not selling him ever.
This is why I'm behind.
He's worked up.
This is why I'm
6-0.
behind even Travis.
I don't
You're
think
not.
you're down that far.
Yeah, thank you for.
No, I was gonna say
I joke.
as I chew these M&Ms, peanut butter M&Ms are amazing.
Almost as good as caramel, but yes.
There was one other time. Actually, it was the reverse fixture. Anthony Gordon played as the striker, played as center forward when Isak and Callum Wilson were both out. Much better this go around for Anthony Gordon than last time. I think the biggest thing was, given the state of Newcastle forwards, I think you should just expect this a lot the rest of the way. Like, Callum Wilson might not play again this season.
Yeah,
Really?
We know that for sure.
Surgery,
Pectoral
I think, yeah.
surgery in his pectoral. They're saying it's hopeful he can be back like the second week of May.
Okay.
He'll come back as fast as he wants to, as fast as he can, I would think. As competitive as he seems to be.
Okay.
Isak is an injury risk every second that he's standing on grass. Like, how
he's
many?
kind of scrawny. You seen him?
That's what I mean. Like, it just seems like he gets out there. He's done it all season long. He plays 2 or 3 games. They are like trying to manage his minutes. They have no choice but to play him more minutes than he
Wilson's
can.
not there.
Gets injured again, and we're back to injured again. So everything with him, he's progressing really well. Can't wait to get him back out there again. It's like, no, you can't. Like, of course you can wait to get him back out there. You want to give him as much time as possible to recover. Anthony Gordon fills in fine. I think the general question for everyone who's looked at this is, what the heck happened to them? They were as a top 5 defense.
Their injuries just slowly chipped away. At
That
them.
is exactly what it is.
And
It's
now-
they're
Yeah.
injuries.
Which I sort of hope doesn't happen to Liverpool, but part of me does. The problem is they're not.
It's possible that it'll hit anybody.
Yeah, I know.
It's just Almiron and Gordon and Barnes as a front 3, if that's the way they keep it, because who else is it going to be? They're not. I mean, I guess who subbed on? Jacob Murphy.
They got that. Don't they have a kid too? That's pretty good.
Murphy subbed on for Harvey Barnes at 67 minutes. They subbed Almiron and Lewis Miley off for Matt Ritchie and Joe White
Willock.
in the 91st minute. So is Willock even available?
Is he?
Who?
I was trying to think.
Your guy.
Oh, you know.
Who? I like Joe.
Yeah, and when Joe was fit and
he was
and getting run,
Well,
he was
that's
real
fine.
good
he
for
was
them.
he was doing really good. No one owned him here. He was never worth owning, but yes, I agree. He was good. I like Joe.
Not
Either
on the
way,
bench.
Like, I don't see how Anthony Gordon is he's not a bad choice. The people have spoken so far. He is a top 15-ish transfer in.
Okay.
I think
He's
some
been
people
all
are
right.
seeing that as a net positive for the week, even in a 2-2 draw. But
he's great at home. I mean, it's what it is.
true.
He
Brian-
scores at home almost every single match.
In this match, Taiwo Iwani scored.
Yeah.
He started off the season almost as a fantasy must own. 7-7-6-5-5-5. So First 5 games on fire. Went on a bit of a cold streak, but had health issues.
I was going to say, it
He
was probably
started- he came on-
as the groin was souring.
He came on last week against weeks ago against Arsenal. He came on at half. He started the last 3 match weeks, and he went 2-2-7. Is this? I just wonder. It's probably not worth it because honestly, when I look at his price, it's at a 6.3, and we've already discussed there's guys lower than him that you would rather have, especially with Big Dom at 6.7. So his price point, Odegaard's himself out of the way. All right, gentlemen, anything else that need to be discussed on those matches? Look, Brighton threw 5 up against Sheffield. Does anyone care?
Yeah, I was going to throw them into the don't need to say much about them, mostly
Okay.
because it was, as long as if it's going to be a rule for the season, if you beat up on Sheffield, there is no takeaway.
Well, and there was a red card in the 13th minute, which changed the
Mason
match very
Holgate.
quickly.
Mason Holgate,
So-
did you see it?
No.
It was bad.
Go find it. Go look at it right now.
Really? You
and
really
you
should
tell
watch it.
Tell me whether he should be suspended for the rest of the season or not.
I don't know about the rest of the season, but he might get a violent conduct.
It was real
The
bad.
issue is that he's already got a red card for it in the match. I don't know if they can do anything else to him.
Well, either way.
No, they're absolutely. I think if you get a red card in a game, I think
it's
there's
The
retroactive.
extra violent conduct.
Seriously, go look at it while I tell you this, Dave, that
It was wild.
Pascal Gross, Matoma has a good match here. Lewis Dunk scores a goal. We talked about Van Heck last week. As I think he might be up to 4.1. He was a possibility of rising this week. He's somebody
Did
that we had
rise.
already talked about. Like clean sheet plus a ton of goals. Like all I would say is it's Sheffield.
Oh wow, his foot came all the way up, almost looked like it kicked his knee. He
No,
hit
it's
him in
above
the
his
inside
knee.
of the thigh.
It's above his knee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at
And
that.
and the issue is that the referee was so
Oh,
poorly
my.
positioned on that. I say poorly, but he was positioned poorly for that
It
to make that
happened
call.
fast. It happened so fast.
He gave him a yellow card,
It happened fast,
and
So
he almost
super
didn't give him a
fast.
foul at all. And the Sheffield players were complaining about it being a foul. Oh, it's no big
There
deal.
had to be blood on the
And
field.
the-
That was crazy.
It wasn't. No blood. No blood. He was fine.
Man, I tell you what, that was what's his name? Matoma.
yeah.
We haven't mentioned him in ages.
Well, he
Yeah, we
just said his
should've.
name, but
I was
literally just said his
looking.
name.
I was looking.
anyways, all that to say,
Matoma's a
it
tough
was
son of a
nasty.
gun.
Yeah,
His
it was nasty.
skin's made of steel. How the
I
heck?
thought his leg was going to
Unbelievable.
detach.
The two Brighton issues are, first of all, Estupinian. If you have him,
I
I'm
technically
sorry.
still have him,
Yeah,
and
I
I
do
just
still
haven't
have
been
him.
able to get rid of him yet.
he was such a trap this week that, I mean, he got numerous content creators were trapped by Estupinian.
I had him
just that-
benched.
Yeah, he was my first bench spot. Thankfully, he blocked out that Solanke garbage. I don't need that in my life. So Estupinian's one. No, benched again this week. I would say
Who
like,
would you be your number one swap for Estupinian? Even though he plays, that's the problem. Like,
Well,
if
so-
you and that's why I still own
Van
him.
Hecke.
yeah,
If you don't have Van Hecke, it's Van Hecke.
yeah. The
You
next
still get a
it's-
piece
Do
of the
I-
Brighton.
But do I want another Brighton defender?
Why not?
Well, that's I'm saying.
He's 4-1 right now.
Yeah, you're making up almost $1 to
Wow.
go, but that's again that's a money thing.
But who doesn't
And-
like a money thing?
And their next three, they're home Everton, at Fulham, home Nottingham Forest.
Yeah, those are good.
This is the end of the run of matches that Brighton was on. The reason why weeks and weeks ago Pascal Gross was an option. I remember last week when I jokingly said, "What are you going to do? Go get Danny Welbeck?" Danny Welbeck, of course. Why would you have that?
Of course.
No, but like this, I'm thinking of Brighton fans such as famous FPL content creator as FPL as from Fantasy Scout, who's a Brighton unknown Brighton
Okay.
fan, talked about it this after the match and just said if this is an obvious problem because Estupinian's such a big talent. What is the other problem? Like, is there an attitude issue? Is there something personal with him and De Zerbi? Like, when he
There's
he
gotta be
comes
something.
back and comes off his injury, and it's like he goes clean sheet, scores a goal against Spurs, and it's like, oh my goodness, like look at attacking Estupinian. He's back. He looks fully fit again.
And then he's on the bench.
And then bench, and then bench, and then bench, and it just keeps happening. So anyway,
I feel like once you get on De Zerbi's bad side, you're not coming back.
there's an
I mean, he played.
the Estupinian problem, and then Adingra. So Adingra comes back from his injury. He had missed game weeks 19 to 24. Comes back with a brace, 2 bonus, 15 total points in the week. We talked about Adingra in game weeks 12 and 13.
Mm-hmm.
So he had put together a run of, or he had a decent return. He had some decent returns through the first, whatever, like first, it's like game week 18 or something like that. Like he started every match, game weeks 5 to 18. It's kind of like Hudson Odoi a little bit. Just
that's
top
a good one.
20-ish numbers. Like he's okay. Like his points are in the top 20-ish. He had 47 points from game weeks 5 to 17. Like that's whatever. That's a whatever number of points for, even if he's $5. It doesn't matter. So that's why it's hard to say. Like having one great match, he went so far overboard. Like the big ones, like in his run of starts from game weeks 5 to 17, he took 17 shots. That doesn't even crack the top 20. He comes back this week and shoots 6 times. So he has 17 shots in 13 game weeks prior to the injury. Comes back in this one and shoots 6 times. Like, that's, I can't do the math, but that's a lot comparatively.
10 players, right?
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, it was against Sheffield. Like he comes back and a guy that's a decent attacking player has an unbelievable game against by far the worst team in the league.
Right.
Like, yeah, sure. Go get him for Everton, Fulham, and Nottingham Forest. Like, it just doesn't seem like it's again, another guy like has an amazing week. I don't know. Are you tempted by him? It doesn't seem like a lot of people are. It's in that range. Like multiple 5-ish guys had a really good game this week. He just happens to have one where it was like he was a consideration 10 weeks ago or whatever, and now we're back to
Adringa.
A drink to that.
What? Wouldn't we?
That's not even his name.
A drink of that.
It was Adingra. Adingra ate my baby. That's what it was supposed to be.
Adringa.
Oh, that's right.
Adinga.
Adingra ate my baby. And you guys shut me down on that. Because that's so ageist.
I thought it was great.
Anyways.
I like Adringa. Adringa is better.
It's not his name.
Adringa. Neither is Jota Gita.
Jota.
I hate puns.
All right. Very good. All right, gentlemen. Anything else that we've missed? We've covered a whole lot. Travis?
I think we should probably cover our leaderboard for our
Good call.
league.
And then I want to say one thing about strategy.
All right. So we can discuss that quickly. I know at the moment, currently, without making...
you want to do the leaderboard or do you want to do strategy?
Strategy.
I know. Strategy.
Let's talk strategy.
Quickly, I can field a team of 9. So I'm missing 2 this week without making a move.
I was going to say, right now, how many players do you have for game week 26?
9.
11.
And you're taking a hit?
No, I'm not taking a hit.
Oh, okay.
I'm not taking a hit.
You. That's why you're in first. What?
11. No hits.
Great. That's why you're ahead of me. I'll
take zeros if I don't make a move. I'm not at the moment. If it doesn't make sense for the following week, I'm just not going to. I'll just go into the week with 9.
I have 10 counting Estupinian.
So
So
9.
I have 9 counting a
so I
Stupinian.
have-
Okay, so that's my other issue. Is I have
So
9 counting a Stupinian.
Right. So is there?
Watch
I
him
have
play.
0. That's what I was going to say. I have 0 confidence of Estupinian starting at home against Everton.
I would rather go Van Hecke for
Especially-
a
But
Stupinian.
you're going to have to take a
especially
hit to do
now.
it.
No.
You have one.
No, I have
transfer.
one transfer. Yeah.
So there's another piece of
And
strategy
heck, or you
there
can go
too.
straight to dunk.
Yeah, but I like the discount.
Oh, yeah.
I like
sure.
the 4-1 discount.
Right.
I mean, that's like I never play five defenders. So if I can get someone who is playing and just bench them,
Dunk. You've seen Dunk for what feels like a generation now. Right, exactly. So
he was a couple of years ago.
He's just now at this point, he's just a guy who is reliable.
Right.
He's a reliable
who should
defender.
be playing for the England national team.
But Van Heck is the guy who has come in. We said weeks and weeks ago he had just started. He has just started, and he is a beloved figure in the defense. He's not coming out of there. No, so I think that's the first thing is like what kind of team can you field? How tied up into that's the thing. How tied up into Liverpool are you? Because that's what's killing you this week. Like you already, if you went heavy after them, if you tripled up or whatever, then you already had to know like this was going to be a bad week. This is not a surprise blank. It's just a surprise that all of them got injured and are now long-term injuries. It's actually kind of helpful for game week 26 in the way of like transfers and planning or whatever.
It's true.
Easy moves now.
Right. I can now get rid of Jota, and bring in someone at minimum for match week 26.
So there's that aspect of it. And then, like I said, I think if you really want to make the, like, kind of how are you thinking now? Does this change what you were going to do? Like, were you thinking about free hitting this? Like, are you really that sunk with players that aren't playing this game week? Like, for sure, Liverpool, Tottenham, Chelsea, and Luton. Like, if you're tied up a lot in Liverpool and Tottenham, then you have real problems. But I don't know how many people had more than Richarlison at this point. Maybe you had Richarlison and Porro or Udogie.
Yeah.
Right. But, I just don't think it's...
They're both hurt, though, too, so Porro
right,
and Udogie.
that's the thing.
So.
You got the news already last week.
Right.
I feel like it kind of all this stuff has happened. What I'm saying is, the teams that for sure, for blank game week 29, one, I think you have enough weeks now. You have a decent number of weeks to make moves that you can kind of already go towards the team that are going to play both 26 and 29. So you're already thinking about Ollie Watkins if you don't have him.
Okay.
You're like you said, you're thinking about Douglas Luiz.
Yeah.
Maybe you're thinking about one of the Aston Villa defenders. You might
Moreno.
Right. Moreno scores a goal, gets chucked out. VAR rules him out rightly, but whatever. He scores a goal. He doesn't seem to be coming out.
That's called not a
Leon
goal.
Bailey. Right, exactly. So a not goal.
But
he's still
goal.
He did put it in the net. But Leon Bailey was good again this week.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's another guy maybe you think about someone like him. We said Ivan Toney. I think that's it. I don't think you're doing anything else with any of it. But either way, now West Ham I ended up not getting rid of Jared Bowen. I'm probably not getting rid of Jared Bowen now. After all that talk of what a great sell he was and what a great what a perfect time to get rid of him, all this stuff. And now West Ham plays 26, so I need him next week. He plays in 29. He's going to be whether you have him or not, if you're free hitting in 29, tell me that Jared Bowen's not going to be in your team. West Ham play. Yes, he will. I'm telling you he will. They play home against Aston Villa. What scares you about Aston Villa? How is West
Ham's form?
How is West Ham
terrible?
How is West Ham not going to be better in the next 4 game weeks? Michael Antonio,
I don't know that
back
they
in
are.
the team. Paqueta back in the team.
But
not right away.
Paqueta
that's
helps.
4 weeks from now.
Paqueta
That's what I'm
helps.
saying.
All right.
I'm just saying that by game week 29.
I hope so.
Because
Moyes might be out by then.
No,
Graham Potter
no.
coming
then they
in
get
could
a new
help.
manager bump. That only helps
That
them
actually
if
wouldn't
they
be
do.
bad for them.
It's not bad. That's a
Exactly.
good fit, actually.
What I'm saying is you already know right now if the teams that play, it's 6 teams. There are 6 teams that definitely have a game in game week 29. You tell me, everyone's going to have the same. If you're free hitting that week, it's Burnley, Brentford. Okay, everyone's going to have Brentford. So you're going to have Tony, and maybe you actually
Janssen.
do buy.
I'm bringing in Josh Brownhill.
Maybe you do get
Janssen.
Pinnock.
No,
you know
he's
what I'm
hurt.
saying?
Janelt.
Oh, sure. Get Janelt. West Ham is home to Aston Villa. Villa's not as good on the road this season. They
You're
just
right.
haven't been.
That's true.
So there's that. Plus, again, I just assume West Ham can be better by then. Like, they
have to be better by then.
They can hardly be worse, is what I'm saying. Plus, like, are you like how enthused are you to triple up on Ollie Watkins, Douglas Luiz, Leon Bailey? Like, are you excited about that? You really pumped?
No, but I mean the alternative for 29, and we have a few weeks to discuss it, so I don't want to stay on it too long.
No, I'm just saying.
But the alternative is to then either go into the match with 5 guys.
Fulham play Tottenham. So we already talked last week about how, like, after 26, the Spurs, after 26, once they're done with the blank, Spurs matchups open up real nice. I think game weeks 27 to 32. You look at Tottenham's schedule and you're like, hey, that's actually real nice. So the question is, like, do you try to put, like, again, if you're free hitting, and let's say Saka's not playing, you're free hitting against Son. Like, Haaland's not playing that week. You're going to have all the money in the world. Liverpool's not playing that week. You'll have all the money in the world. Like, how are you not going to have Maddison, Richarlison, Son? Somebody in there is coming into your team. And that's the 6 that are definitely playing. I'm just saying, like, the free hit in 29, like, not only is it like the team that you're going to free hit is going to be so, like, it will be the same exact players.
As everyone has.
How could it not be?
Yeah, no, I know.
So, like, FPL Prop Joe on X said it earlier. The sick obsession with blank game week 29 needs to end. A lot of teams have very good fixtures between 26 and 28. A lot of points are to be made there. I'd like to focus on that, please, and not fixate transfers on buying Charlie Taylor because he has a fixture after 2 months where he'll score 2 points.
I hear that.
So I'm just saying, like, we may not. Like, I just think that the FA Cup fixtures that are left, like, it's more of a toss-up. Can Leeds beat Chelsea in one game in the FA Cup?
Yes.
Yeah.
You'd think they probably can.
They have a shot?
At least they have a chance.
Depending on which Chelsea shows up, yeah.
Manchester United and Sheffield United happens if Nottingham Forest beats Manchester United in the FA Cup. Why can't Nottingham Forest beat Manchester United in the FA Cup?
Sure. They totally can.
Well, you've seen weirder things happen.
Luton should have pounded them this weekend.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you've seen weirder things happen. Everyone expected that this Chelsea team was going to get trounced by Aston Villa last week in the FA Cup.
Didn't happen.
The opposite happened. Chelsea smashed them. Like, no one expected that even a little bit. If Nottingham Forest beats Manchester United, it nearly guarantees that Luton and Nottingham Forest happens that week because Luton is playing Manchester City in the FA Cup. So Manchester City's not losing to Luton. Almost nearly impossible for that to happen. I'm just saying, like, there's the possibility of some really good fixtures to still be had there. I'm just saying, like, I feel like there's moves you could make with kind of long-term planning in mind, but, like, for next week and the weeks after, like, the teams that you're going to care about, by the time it gets to 29 or whatever, I just don't know. Like, to me, I'm going to do everything I can to not use a free hit in game week 29, regardless of what happens with the rest of these matches. Like, I feel like there are teams that I would want anyway, and I might honestly, if I can put 6 players out in 29, if that's what ends up happening, like, I might just take that thinking, like, I'll have a free hit to use in one of the big double game weeks. Like, figuring that out between 34 and 37. Like, I'd way rather pick my team later. Again, my season's over. But, like, I would way rather have that to maximize down the line than doing it for this. That's it. Just one piece of strategy, just because there's tons of information about, like, all this stuff between now and looking at a big blank game week in 29, fixtures and planning all this stuff for that. And to me, I'm just like, look at it. Like, what gets you going on this stuff?
I think you're underselling the fact that you still have all your chips left and you haven't. You're like saying my season's over.
Don't butter me up.
All I'm saying is I'm 50 points away from the top spot in our mini league. League Bow, sun sail away. Okay? Having an amazing season. Top 30,000 currently. I'm 50 points away from that.
Yeah.
Like, that's one good chip. That's a trip. That is a Holland triple captain hat trick.
Where are you throwing these M&Ms?
What's going on?
They tipped this way. The opening was big enough. They all fell out. There's one behind me.
Okay. Look, let's be honest.
It's clean.
If-
You're fine.
If
It's just your
Holland,
feet.
if Holland scores a hat trick tomorrow,
Yeah.
and I have him on a triple captain, let me tell you, League Bow has Holland as a captain. Doesn't have Ake.
Smart.
Doesn't have who else? I think he's got. Oh, I got Van Dyke. So in other words, I could end up. It is possible in the crazy world that I could possibly make up a bunch of points. So it's just, I don't know. It's weird, man. And I'm surprised you selling, saying that you're not going to be in it when you have all your chips, everything to play for, and no one closes the last quarter of the season like you. So I don't want to hear all that garbage talk. Get it out of your mouth.
I'm just not feeling it.
Get it out of your mouth.
Matoma had 2 FPL assists on a expected assists of 0.04. So yes, you're right. Anything can happen.
See, that's what I'm talking
So you're
about.
saying there's a chance.
Well done. All right, Travis, you alluded to the current mini league. I am now top 5. Super pumped about that. As I in fourth place, League Michelle Nerdstrasaurus Wrexham.
I like it.
That's not even right either.
Man,
You butchered
League
me.
Shen Rockabye Angel.
Nerdosaurus Wrexham is my guess.
Nerdosaurus Wrexham. What did I say?
You said Nerdstrasaurus. You're putting you're putting in Nostradamus. You're putting the
Okay.
straw in there, and it's
Right,
not.
right,
It's
right.
just nerd.
League Shen Rockabye Angel in third. League Joshua Why Always Me in second place. And then League Bow Sunsail Away in first place, overall rank 30K. So kudos to him. I'm going to try my best, as I usually not this high on the table at the end of the season. I'm going to try my best to try to catch you, League Bow. I don't actually think it's going to happen, but here's to trying. All right, gentlemen, any last words? Next week, you're captaining. Is anyone not captaining Salah? I mean, that's at this point all you need.
You mean Holland?
That's what I meant.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Captain Salah, please,
Yes.
next week, captain him.
Salah won't be playing.
Do it.
Definitely should captain him.
I mean, you wouldn't, based on results, you wouldn't be crazy to captain your guy. Saka at home to this abject defensive, you-know-what show, Newcastle.
Interesting.
It's not stupid.
I don't feel comfortable with that.
All right.
City will be at Bournemouth. Come on.
Another not crazy choice. If you did pull the trigger on Hoyland, which plenty of people have, Manchester United home to Fulham. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's a fantastic home matchup for Manchester United.
Might be a hat trick for Mooney's.
I just think you're going to get it's like the pool to Holland is so strong that no one will be able to escape it. I don't like that. Sunday, one match at 8:30 in the morning. Wolves, Sheffield.
Yeah, lame.
Oh, come on. And
Lame.
then West Ham, Brentford. You got to wait till Monday afternoon.
Lame.
I
Probably
don't
because
know,
that stupid
man.
FA, that Carling Cup match is probably Sunday afternoon that everyone's going to be
Carabao.
watching. No, in my mind, it's always the
Carling
Carling
Cup.
Cup. Oh, yeah, baby. Oh, yeah. All right.
No, I think there are
That's it.
other
That's it,
options.
right?
I just don't think I don't think you're doing anything about it. I mean, hey, good on you. If you have the guts to captain someone other than Holland, great. Do it.
Okay. All right.
This is your chance.
Everyone, good luck next week in game week 26. Don't let the hits rain down too bad. But then again, it just depends where you are in your strategy. And if you're taking Brian Shesko's advice of playing free and loosey-goosey and just...
Hey, not me. I'm just
See what
doing,
happens.
Look, I'm doing what
Feels right.
Buck Maverick. That's why I'm going to change my FPL name to. I'm going full Buck Maverick.
Oh, that's great.
Rest of season.
All right. Very good. Hey, well, listen, for the FPL America podcast, this is David Smith. Until next time.